Very good morning, students. Today we are going to begin with a new chapter of geography, that is humidity and clouds. Here we have few of the can you tell questions. Look at the pictures shown in figure 3.1 on page number 16. Discuss the weather conditions shown in these pictures in the class and write the descriptions in the boxes below. Based on these pictures, let us have geographical explanation of it. Generally, we keep talking about the weather conditions. We can identify the weather conditions through the conversations above. We experience the dampness or dryness in the air throughout the year. The changes occurring in the weather conditions in desert areas, coastal areas and mountainous areas is evident from the figures. The first figure in Rajasthan, at Rajasthan lies in a region with dry and hot air. There is hardly any moisture in the air. People wear loose cotton clothes. Secondly, the Kashmir Valley lies in a region with cold and dry air. Moisture is minimal in the air. People cover themselves with warm clothes. In Mumbai, the air is hot and humid. The second picture, there the proportion of moisture is very high in air. In addition, if dark clouds cover the sky, the content of moisture in the air increases. So the first picture is of the state Rajasthan. Second picture is of Mumbai and the third picture is of Kashmir Valley. In this discussion, the words hot, moist, cool, etc. shows the condition of the air. They relate to the content of the moisture in the air. And moisture in the air is invisible, but it is the major component of air which is taken into consideration while discussing the weather of any place. For precipitation to occur in any place, presence of moisture in the air is very important. Very good morning, students. In our previous video, we discussed about the changes occurring in the weather conditions in desert areas, coastal areas and mountainous areas is evident from the figures which we have seen on page number 16 of your textbook. Now we are going to discuss about evaporation. Before we going to begin with the topic, I have one question for you all. During winters, when you exhale on the glass of your mirror, what happens? If you try to do this in summer, why doesn't this happen? I'll repeat the question. During winters, when you exhale on the glass of your mirror, what happens? If you try to do this in summer, why doesn't this happen? Answer of this question is during winters, the moisture holding capacity of air is low due to low temperature. Therefore, during winters, when we exhale on the glass of mirror, the condensation of water vapor present in the exhaled air takes place. As its effect, very thin water drops are found on the glass of mirror. During summer, the moisture holding capacity of air is high due to high temperature. Therefore, during summer, When we exhale on the glass of mirror, the water vapor present in the exhaled air gets absorbed in air. Therefore, no water drops are found on the glass of mirror. With the answer of this question, let's begin with our topic, evaporation. Evaporation is the process of converting water into steam or water vapor. Because of the sun's heat, the water on the earth gets converted into water vapor. The process of evaporation is dependent on the dryness, temperature, and the speed of the wind. If the air is dry and hot, the rate of evaporation increases. The process of evaporation continues even in dry and cold air. On the other hand, evaporation occurs very slowly in moist air. If the velocity and temperature of the air is high, then evaporation occurs rapidly. If the wind is blowing slowly and the air is cooler, then evaporation occurs slowly. Very good morning, students. In our previous video, we discussed about evaporation. Now in this video, we are going to begin with the new topic, that is humidity in the air. Before we begin with this topic, let's have few questions based on it. The first question is, in which season do the clothes dry fast? In which season do the clothes dry fast? The answer is in summer season. Second question, in which season do the clothes take time to dry? What could be the reason? The answer is rainy season. The reason behind it is, as the moisture holding capacity is found to be low in high humidity air, it leads to late drying up of clothes. Let's begin with the topic, humidity in the air. The proportion of water vapor in the air is called its humidity. The proportion of water vapor in the air is called its humidity. The dryness or dampness of the air depends on the proportion of water vapor. Air can hold moisture in specific quantity at specific temperature only. As air cools down, its moisture holding capacity reduces. This implies that warmer air can hold more moisture than cold air. At a certain temperature, the moisture holding capacity of air becomes equal to the proportion of moisture present in it. This condition of the air is called saturation of the air. Based on this topic, we have the following activity which we have to carry out in a group. First step of the activity is, take a tray which is deeper in the center. Secondly, take a piece of sponge. On the flat part of the tray, make holes with the help of nails. Keep the sponge on the center of the tray. Make sure there is no water in the sponge. Pour water on the sponge with a big spoon. The students in the group should note How many spoons of water have been poured? Keep pouring water with the spoon till the sponge becomes wet with water. Note what happens if you keep pouring water even after that. Now, answer the following questions. The first question here based on figure 3.2 and 3.3. The first question is, what happened to the water which was poured initially? What happened with the water which was poured initially? Answer is, the water which was poured initially was absorbed in the sponge. Second question, when you were pouring water on the sponge, what did you expect? Answer is, when we were pouring water on the sponge, we expected that water will trickle out from the sponge. What happened when you poured more water on the sponge? Question number 3. Answer is, when we poured more water on the sponge, the water trickled out from the sponge. The last and the fourth question, what conclusions can you draw from this activity? After certain limit, the water holding capacity of the sponge gets ended and it becomes saturated. Very good morning, students. In our previous videos, we have discussed about the changes occurring in the weather conditions in desert areas, coastal areas and mountainous areas. After that, we discussed about evaporation and humidity in the air. Today we are going to discuss about try this activity given on page number 17 and 18 based on figure 3.2, 3.3 and 3.5. Let's have a geographical explanation based on this activity. Let's suppose that the air is like a piece of sponge. How many spoons of water does the sponge absorb? After the sponge is full of water, drops of water start trickling out. One can tell the number of spoons of water required to make the water trickle down the sponge by observation. This implies that the water holding capacity of the sponge is fulfilled. This makes it saturated. Similarly, when the proportion of moisture in the air exceeds its vapor holding capacity, precipitation in the form of rain or snow occurs on the earth. The moisture holding capacity of the air depends on its temperature. Higher the temperature, higher is the holding capacity. We have learnt earlier that as we go higher in the sky, the air becomes cooler. So as per this rule, as we go higher, the vapor holding capacity of air will decrease. Always remember, generally humidity of the air is measured in grams per cubic meter. When the humidity in the air is 0 gram per cubic meter, the air is said to be dry. If the humidity in the air is at 30 degrees Celsius, temperature is 37 grams per cubic meter, then the air is said to be saturated. At 15 degree centigrade, the capacity of 1 cubic meter air is to hold 12.8 gram of moisture. If this amount of vapor is present in the air, the air is said to be saturated. This humidity in the air is expressed in different ways. Very good morning, students. In our previous video, we have discussed about try this activity given on page number 17 and 18 based on figure 3.2, 3.3 and 3.5, in which we have understood that the moisture holding capacity of the air depends on its temperature. Higher the temperature, higher is the holding capacity. Now in this video, we are going to discuss about the different ways in which the humidity in the air is expressed. The first way is absolute humidity. What is absolute humidity? The amount of water vapor in 1 cubic meter of air is the absolute humidity of the air. I'll repeat. The amount of water vapor in 1 cubic meter of air is the absolute humidity of the air. For example, the absolute humidity of the air near coastal areas is higher than air in the interior. Absolute humidity is higher in the equatorial areas while it reduces as we move towards poles. The distribution of land and water on the earth and the seasons also affect absolute humidity. Here we have few of the questions based on absolute humidity. The first question, in which season is humidity generally more? And the answer is humidity is generally more in monsoon. Second question, how does humidity affect the human body? The answer is the rate of respiration and sweating increases due to humidity. Next question, observe how humidity affects the food materials at our home. Answer is due to humidity, fungus flourish on food materials at our home and it gets spoiled. Next question, is there a relation between the formation of fungus and humidity? Answer is there is a direct relationship between formation of fungus and humidity. Humidity supports the growth of fungus. And the last question, how is the early or late drying up of clothes related to humidity? The answer is as the moisture holding capacity is found to be high in the low humidity air, it leads to early drying up of clothes. As the moisture holding capacity is found to be low in high humidity air, it leads to late drying up of clothes. This is all about absolute humidity. Very good morning, students. In our previous video, we have discussed about the first way in which the humidity in the air is expressed, that is absolute humidity. Now in this video, we are going to discuss about the second way by which the humidity in the air is expressed, that is relative humidity. The amount of water present in air can be expressed as a percentage of the amount needed for saturation. The amount of water vapor present in the air can be expressed as a percentage of the amount needed for saturation at the same temperature and same volume. It is expressed in percentage. Relative humidity in percent is equals to absolute humidity divided by vapor holding capacity into 100. Based on this, we can say that the amount of water vapor changes according to difference in temperature. Similarly, relative humidity also changes. Generally, relative humidity is more in the mornings and nights. In the afternoon, as temperature increases, relative humidity decreases. Near coastal areas, the relative humidity is more and so the air is moist. In desert areas, relative humidity is less. Here we have try this activity based on figure 3.5, 3.6a and b. Let's see what we have to do. We have to do this activity in a group. First, in figure 3.5, we have to take water in a pressure cooker. Second, we have to take off the whistle of the pressure cooker. Third, now heat the pressure cooker. Fourth, take a lid with a handle. And the fifth, after the water starts boiling, hold the lid at a distance from where the steam is coming out. And the last is your observation. Observe what happens. You must have observed that water changed into water vapor after it was heated. So this vapor turns into water droplets when it touches the cooler lid. We can see the water droplets deposited on the lid. In the second figure, that is figure 3.6a, you have to take a glass with flat bottom. Put some ice cubes in it. Keep this glass in a room for 2 to 3 minutes. What did you see? In some times, you will see droplets of water on the outer surface of the glass. For that reason, you have to observe the figure 3.6b. When the water vapor in the air comes in contact with the cold surface, condensation takes place. These droplets form on the outer surface of the glass. In the first activity, the steam from the cooker cooled and condensed into water droplets. In the second activity, the vapor in the air condensed into water droplets. Very good morning, students. In our earlier videos, we have discussed about relative humidity and absolute humidity. In this video, we are going to discuss about condensation, densification and sublimation. The process of changing of water vapor in the air into water is called condensation or densification. Also, the process of vapor, that is gas, changing into solid state is called sublimation. If the temperature of the air reduces, its vapor holding capacity also reduces. When relative humidity of the air becomes 100%, then vapor starts condensing. At the same time, the temperature of the air should be at dew point. It implies that for condensation, temperature should be low and relative humidity must be high. In the free environment, condensation of the vapor in the air occurs around fine particles, that is dust, salt, etc. in the air. Dew, frost and fog are the forms of condensation at ground level, while clouds are a form of condensation at higher elevation. Always remember, there is a difference between fog and smog. Fog is made up of vapor in the air only, and smog is a combination of dust particles, of polluted air in the region and fog. Very good morning, students. Through this diagram, you can be able to understand the process of changing of water vapor in the air into water is called condensation or densification. Now in this video, we are going to discuss about clouds and types of clouds. Clouds are a form of condensation at higher elevation. Condensation occurs around minute particles in the atmosphere, and condensed water or snow particles in the clouds are very fine and almost weightless, and so clouds float in the air. You can see the figure alongside, which shows us the raindrop. Fine particles, condensed water particles in the cloud, and the raindrop maximum diameter is 5 millimeter. Land and water get heated because of the heat of the sun. Air near the surface heats up, rises and becomes less dense. Hot air rises up. As it goes higher, the temperature of the air reduces and the moisture holding capacity of the air reduces. Relative humidity keeps increasing. So the water vapor in the atmosphere turns into water and snow. This is the dew point level of that air. The level of condensation is determined by the water vapor in the air. Keep in mind that the freezing point is also dependent on the altitude and water vapor. Because of condensation, fine particles of ice and water float in the air at a greater height. They accumulate around dust particles in the air and become larger in size. Their accumulation together is called a cloud. Because of vertical flow of the wind, they float in the atmosphere and like a kite which float in the air as it moves higher and higher. The clouds too float in the atmosphere because of vertical flow. Clouds are found at different altitudes above the mean sea level. Clouds which form at a greater altitudes are formed very fine snow particles. So the process of evaporation and condensation occurs consecutively in the clouds. Specific type of clouds cause rainfall on the earth, and the proportion of vapor is more near the earth's surface. So as we go higher away from the sea level, the amount of vapor decreases. Hence the clouds at a lower altitude are larger in size, while the clouds at a higher altitude are smaller. Here in this diagram, you can be able to see the different types of clouds according to the international classification. Very good morning, students. In our earlier video, we have discussed about the introduction of clouds and types of clouds. In this video, we are going to discuss about the cloud types according to the international classification. Clouds are formed at different altitudes in the atmosphere. After observation, we can divide these clouds into three main types on the basis of their altitude. The height from the base of the clouds is taken into consideration. If the clouds are at an altitude of 7,000 to 14,000 meter, then they are considered as very high clouds. If they are at an altitude of around 2,000 to 7,000 meter, then they are considered to be medium clouds. If they are at an altitude of less than 2,000 meter, then they are called low clouds. So in the figure given alongside on the page number 21 in your textbook, you can see the different types of clouds which are shown here. So here you can see the high clouds, medium clouds and low clouds. High clouds. These clouds are mainly made up of ice particles. They can be classified into cirrus, cirrocumulus and cirrostratus. These cirrus clouds are mainly wispy. Cirrocumulus clouds look like groups of small waves and cirrostratus are like a bedsheet with wrinkles. They generally have a halo around them. Medium clouds. These include altocumulus and altostratus. Altocumulus are in the form of layers and have a wave-like structure. They are mostly white in color and have a grey shade. Altostratus are not very thick. The sun can be seen through them as if seen through a milky glass. Low clouds. This consists of 5 types of clouds. Stratocumulus have the layers and their color is white to earthy. Round clusters of clouds can be here. Stratus clouds also have layers. They are ash colored and their base is uniform. Nimbostratus has the thick layers and they are grey ash in color and cause continuous rainfall and even snowfall. Cumulus clouds. Now these clouds are formed extensively from 500 to 6000 meter altitude and the vertical flow of the air adds to the formation of these clouds. These are huge and dome shaped. They are grey in color and cumulus clouds are an indicator of pleasant weather. The vertical expanse of these clouds increases so much that they turn into cumulonimbus clouds and bring rain. Cumulonimbus clouds. These are characteristic clouds which are indicators of thunderstorm. These look like huge mountains and these are dense and dark in color. There is thunder accompanied by lightning. They bring rain with storm and may sometimes bring hailstones. But such a type of rain does not last long. So in this diagram, you can be able to see the cumulonimbus clouds. The largest of these clouds bring rainfall accompanied with lightning. The top portion of these clouds has an anvil-like shape. These clouds have a positive charge at the upper end and negative charge at the lower end. The land below them always has negative charge. Due to difference in the charges, electric charges are formed and lightning occurs, lighting up the sky for a moment. The air around the lightning rises up because of the heat and this leads to a large thundering sound. As compared to the other clouds, the raindrops of these clouds are larger because they move up and down and a lot of times an accumulation more and more water. These drops become larger and larger and are unable to float in the clouds because of their weight. They fall in the form of rain. Sometimes the rain and the air in the clouds is very cold. As a result, these drops freeze and fall in the form of hail. So we call them hailstones. Do you know? Cloudburst is a type of precipitation and raindrops coming towards the earth are stopped in the clouds itself because of strong vertical winds. So these drops change into hail and this makes the clouds heavier. So the vertical winds are unable to bear this weight and this leads to heavy rainfall with large sized hail. This is called cloudburst. It leads to a rainfall of more than 100 millimeter in a small area or particular region. This type of precipitation mainly occurs in the mountainous regions. The states through which the Himalayan ranges pass experience such a type of rainfall. Thank you.